If you're a brand new business owner or you're planning on starting a business, I want to share with you the lessons that we've learned from helping small business owners just like yourself who are looking to get access to their first rounds of business capital. So I want to pass down these lessons to you. We've been able to do this by helping them create, build, and install a simple funding setup directly into their business that's allowed them to get access to capital in a predictable and sustainable way that doesn't break the business. Now, the first component that I want to break down is the entity selection. Most of us, when we're starting out and we're building a business, we are in two camps. We are either thinking of, hey, let me take a look at the sole proprietorship camp, which is maybe the easiest route to take, especially when you're starting out. You're probably seen a couple YouTube videos and you're thinking, okay, this is a lot easier than maybe going out and filing all of this paperwork. And then the other camp is an LLC formation, a legal or a limited liability company, which essentially gives you a what we call like a legal separation between you and the business. Out of all of the clients that we've consulted, that we've brought on, again, just from a startup perspective, if there is one piece like of thought that I can give you, a suggestion, don't even take this as advice, a suggestion, if you want to make your life easier, if you're going to do this right, I think the quote is from Abraham Lincoln, I would rather measure twice and cut once. Or if it was Abraham Lincoln, whoever it was, drop it in the comments. I'd rather measure twice and cut once. Irv, what does that mean? I'd rather set up an LLC from the jump. Now, the reason why the LLC, in my opinion, is going to be the most important piece of like paperwork that you're going to have when you first start out is it's going to allow you to build and scale even as the business grows. Like later on, you can consider doing an S election. Later on, you can consider different tax operations of how you maybe want to create some anonymity around it, a holding company around it, like whatever the heck you want to do with it. But it's like you're going to lose so much ground if you take the sole proprietorship route. Let me just give you basic data on this. Even though both the sole proprietorship and the LLC both get access to their own employer identification number, the EIN, which is essentially the social security number for the business. This is what you're going to use to file your business taxes. This is what you're going to use to run payroll. This is the number that you're going to use to open up business bank accounts. This is the number that you're going to use to buy vehicles, equipment inside of your business's name or under your business's name. That's the sneaky part. Because wait, Irv, I have an EIN for my sole prop, but then I also have an EIN for my LLC. So isn't that essentially one and one and the same? No. If you start off with a sole proprietorship, the likelihood of you losing all of the business credit history and data that you've built, let's say over 2 years, now you're a tax attorney, now your accountant tells you, hey, we may want to add a little bit more separation here between maybe you and the tenants or between you and your business and your customers. So let's create an LLC. Well, guess what, Mr. Business Owner? Guess what, Mrs. Business Owner? That credit history and those accounts don't automatically transfer over to your LLC. If you're wondering why, I'm going to give it to you here right now. You end up creating a new business, which is a disregarded entity. That is your LLC if you decided to step up into it. This is why I said, hey, if you're going to start out with anything, just start out with the LLC. You already get your footing in place out of the gate, even if you hadn't made a dollar just yet. And so let's say you've built up $80,000 worth of business capital on the sole proprietorship side, and you open up the new business, you get a new LLC, you get a new EIN. Guess what? That's a brand spanking new business. You can't just call up a bank and say, hey, I've been with you guys now for a minute. Can you guys just go ahead and transfer the $80,000 that I have with you over to this LLC? It's like flipping a coin. I've seen it not work in most instances than it actually work, which is why I'm trying to save you 2, 3, even 4 years of a headache by helping you, hey, establish this upfront with your LLC. The second thing that ends up happening if you decide to go with the sole prop first versus the LLC is that you don't get the age built out over time, which again, you end up losing it, which is kind of like what we just finished mentioning. But even more than that is when you have an LLC, if you decided to go into an S election, you don't lose the age of the LLC because that doesn't actually change the business structure as a whole. If you go from an S Corp or if you go from a sole prop to an S Corp, new business starting over. If you go from a sole proprietorship to an LLC, hey, you lost it. If you lost the age, you lost the credit. If you go from a sole prop to a C Corp, same thing. You lost the credit. You lost the age. And so if there's one thing that you take from this first piece, if you are up in the air just for the purposes of getting access to capital in a predictable, sustainable way, open it up with an LLC off the jump. Second thing you want to consider when you're starting out is your industry selection. This is going to be the classification of how your business is going to be bucketed in the eyes of the banks. So let's say that you get into real estate and you are a real estate agent. You're going to classify your business as a real estate agent or as real estate sales. And then you're going to get attached to your business a 6-digit number. If you're filing your business under an LLC, then that's going to be at the top right-hand corner of your Schedule C. That's just the paperwork that you use that goes attached to your 1040. Your accountant knows all about this. But I'm giving you this data because if, let's say, you are a real estate sales agent or you're a real estate broker and you put on there that you run a construction company, well, now there's discrepancies between what you actually do and how the business is categorized. And that's one of the first things that we've seen get flagged and ultimately gets people and businesses denied for business capital, whether they're just starting out or as they start to scale. And if you're going to do this the right way, again, measure twice and cut once. And so take time. You can go on NAICS.com, take a look at all the different industries that are on there, and then take a look at, okay, which one is closely tied to what I do based on where I'm located in the country and based off of who I serve. So your audience, your clientele, your services, whatever that is, you're going to go ahead and maybe select 3 or 4 numbers or 3 or 4 different classifications. So you'll have 3 or 4 6-digit numbers. You only need one. And so from there, you'll go ahead and make the update. So you can update the IRS when you go to file your taxes. You can update your bank, which is probably the first place that you'll go ahead and establish this with. So when you sit in front of a business banker, they're going to say, hey, what type of line of work do you do? Hey, I am a real estate sales professional. This is my, what are the type of classifications that you guys have? This is what I looked up online. This is what I have. And then they'll let you know, hey, we have that classification here, or the closest that we have to that is this. Pro tip, don't fall into the trap of what you see on YouTube where people tell you, just go out and use this specific classification because it's a lower risk. We're not seeing that work right now in real time. Like right now at the time of this recording, that's not working. Banks are a lot smarter than that. Financial institutions are a lot smarter than that. They're going to take a look at your business credit reports. They're going to take a look at your actual business. They're going to take a look at your business licenses. And if those discrepancies don't add up to what your business actually does, well, guess what? It's not going to fly. And so you'll most likely even end up getting your accounts shut down, or they won't want to do business with you anyways. You can put makeup on a pig, the old saying goes, but guess what? It's still a pig. Number 3 is the owner's profile. This is going to be your credit data. This is one of the biggest levers that you can pull on when you're first starting to build business credit and when you're starting to get access to business funding. You have 2 profiles that you are essentially working on at the same time, and that's going to be your business profile. So that's your business credit. That's with Experian Business, Equifax Business, Dun & Bradstreet, and you also have SBFE, which is more of like a trade organization. It's not an actual credit bureau company. It is an organization like a data furnishing company that works hand in hand with the business, with the banks and business credit bureaus. But then you also have on the right-hand side, if you're keeping score and you're writing this down, is your personal AE or IE, your business owner data. And this is going to be your credit. So this is going to be TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And so a good rule of thumb as you're building this out, if your plan is to get access to business capital in a predictable and sustainable way, is don't neglect this. You want to build out your personal credit side in a way that's going to allow you to justify why your business is seeking the capital that it's looking for. And if you're saying, wait a minute, Irv, I thought that if I had an LLC, I wouldn't have to use my own data, or I wouldn't have to use my own personal credit. If your business, good rule of thumb, is generating under $4 million a year over a consecutive 24-month period, guess what? You don't qualify because you just started, right? Like, duh. Second is your business just started, so there's no business credit history just yet. So now if you're thinking about this just from a basic standpoint of just economics, and you're looking at from a like a risk aversion area, if you're lending out money to someone, think of it kind of like an auto dealership does, right? Where if you go in with a child, if you're a parent, then you'll get this, then the child doesn't have enough credit to stand on their own 2 feet just yet to purchase that vehicle. But the auto dealership still wants to do business and they still want to get the car off the lot. Guess what the parent has to do? Or guess what the sibling has to do? Or guess what the partner has to do? They say, hey, I have a 750 credit score. I can co-sign on their behalf. So now, even though, yes, I kind of put my neck out there and it's on the line, I want to make sure that my kid is taken care of. I want to make sure that my partner's taken care of because they need a vehicle to go to work every day. They need a vehicle to go out and do business. It's the same thing in the business credit side. The only difference is that you're co-signing on behalf of your business. Spoiler alert, there is no workaround with this. The whole EIN stuff that you probably see online right now, that's just for trade accounts. That's not real business funding that you can use for things like real estate deals, that you can use for things like payroll, that you can use for things like vehicle or equipment financing. That's completely different from what we're talking about now. So if you don't feel comfortable co-signing on behalf of your business so that you can get access to capital and ultimately build the business of your dreams and build the legacy that you want to build for your family and leave essentially lots of money behind for them, put your family in the right place, then maybe taking the risk of running a business isn't for you, right? But if you're still watching this, then you understand, hey, this is the price that I had to pay to play the game. So Irv, what are some data points that I would need in order for me to build out my owner profile the right way? First things first is I always start out with clean up your data. So you, on your credit profile, pull them up, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You want to pull up all the data and you want to see, okay, are all the names congruent? Because congruency is important across the board. Do you have the same name for all the credit bureaus? So if maybe you just went through a marital status change and maybe it's showing on your file, like your new license is your new maiden or your new name, not your maiden name, but on your credit profile, it's showing your maiden name, you may want to make some adjustments, right? Because something as simple as that will get you flagged and denied for business capital in the long term. This is all about lowering the risk, lowering the appeared risk from you to the banks. When it comes to the credit profile, some people say you want to have at least 10 accounts. Look, I haven't seen a difference between I'd say 4 to 6 accounts, as long as they're revolving and there were trade A vendors or trade A banks, I should say. So those are your American Expresses, your Wells Fargos, your Chases, your Citibanks. That's more so where you'll want to be. That's on the owner's side. Moving into the final piece is lending appetite. Lending appetite is tricky because you can have a perfectly dialed in business model. You can start generating revenue, so you have some cash on hand, and you're starting to run cash through the business account, and you can have a 780, 790 plus credit score. But guess what? On the personal side, but guess what? If your business isn't necessarily in the wheelhouse or something that's appealing to the bank or to the credit union that you're wanting to do business with and get funding from, then you're going to run into two walls. The first wall is you'll most likely end up with low limits, which we see all the time when this piece isn't dialed incorrectly, or you just run into denials altogether. This is where the bank says, hey, we're good. We're not going to approve you for anything. And so you wasted a hard inquiry with them. So what can you do to mitigate this piece right here? First off, you don't want to force it. And so if a lending institution doesn't want to do business with your line of work because you're seen as risky to them, they flat out don't lend to your type of industry, or they just they moved out of that pocket. Sometimes banks move. Banks 2 years ago were lending to trucking like crazy. Now they're not. And so sometimes that hot zone, they move from it and they say, no, we're good. And so then they start to kind of lower the amount that they distribute to those types of businesses. At that point, that's when I've always said, I refer to them as ponds. You want to move into a different pond that you can fish from. Because what most people do is they'll take their rod and then they'll turn and then they'll drop their rod thinking that they're in a different pond, but they're still fishing out of the same bucket. And so you want to go to a completely different bank and just ask them. I always tell my clients, hey, ask these two questions. Number one is, over the last 60 to 90 days, what are the main business types that you guys have been extending financing, funding, business credit to? And then the second question is, how long do I have to be in business before you guys can start working with me? Now, there's a few that's super nuanced, and there's workarounds that we have specifically with our clients that we work with, especially when we're working with business bankers one-on-one. But that'll at least get your foot in the door so that you can see more so what they're looking for. So if you found value in this content, share it with a fellow entrepreneur or someone that you know is planning on starting their business. If you want our team to take a look at your business or your potential business before you even get things up and going, we'd love to connect with you. Take a look at insightInnerCircle.com. It is pinned as the first comment. You can book a call with us. We'll run a full audit, see where your business is at or where you're looking to take it. We'll let you know how it works to get a simple funding setup installed directly into your business so that you can get access to capital, not just in a predictable way, but in a way that doesn't break the business as you continue to grow. If that at all sounds interesting to you, book a call down below. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.